Hi, welcome to this week's bonus clip. We recorded this as part of a rap pod following the Ireland-Scotland match, which you'll find on Apple, Spotify, and all the usual other places. This week I have Tom Coleman and Kieran Duffy with me, and I just want to talk for a bit about how we as fans are going to get through the week ahead. Right the way through this winning run, Andy Farrell and the squad have always looked composed and shown that they believe in themselves. Understandably, it's been different for us as fans, especially in the week building up to each match day, and this coming week ahead of the quarterfinal will no doubt be the toughest of all. Just how do we manage, Tom?
Well, it's definitely got the feel of a Grand Slam week or a Champions Cup final week. You know, that's the sort of week that this is going to be leading up to this New Zealand game. There's no point in talking about beyond that because it's uncharted waters. Seemingly, we've never got past the quarterfinal. If you haven't heard that before,
Wow, yeah, Jesus.
yeah. So we'll
hear
a bit of that.
Fact check that.
We'll hear a bit of that as well. That it'll come back to haunt us again. So look, it's a massive game, and it's one of those games where the nerves are going to be right. You know, we're all busy with family and school and college and work and kid, whatever else keeps us busy in life. But come Saturday evening, as that last hour before the match and anthems and haka, and it's one of those games where every ruck and every knock on and every scrum and every little minuscule detail is just going to be, your eyes are going to be glued to it and pouring over every aspect of the game. How we build ourselves up for the week, I just don't know. It's just going to be an onslaught of stuff online from, again, our poor record in quarterfinals. Will we beat the All Blacks? We've beaten them now. Is the aura gone? I would say that at one stage, to put it politely, that monkey in the back, or it was more like a silverback gorilla in Chicago, that was eventually lifted off our back when we did beat New Zealand. It's hard to believe we've won 5 out of the last 8 against New Zealand. As somebody who watched Ireland in the 90s win a total of 8 games in the whole of the 5 nations as it was then in total, it just seems alien thinking about beating New Zealand 5 out of the last 8 times. I'd say one little asterisk on those 8 games was obviously the quarterfinal 4 years ago, where we really didn't show up. So that'll be thrown back in our face, and we'll see images. We'll all be listening to the Kiwi Rugby podcasts to see what they've got to say, and looking for the slightest hint of worry in their voice, which is sometimes hard to find, because generally New Zealanders think they're going to win no matter how they're playing. But I think I read a stat lately. I think they've only won 4 out of the last 12 against South Africa, Ireland, and France, but something like that. So this is a cracking New Zealand team, but they're not to be feared. They've got super individual players, but I don't think they have the same cohesiveness of, say, of Ireland on a 1 to 15 basis. That doesn't mean Ireland are going to win or New Zealand are going to win. It just means that we should have nothing to fear there. So I'll be taking that solace of thinking back to I think it was 2016, James Ryan and Stockdale and Porter beat the Junior All Blacks in the World Cup. I think it was that under 20 World Cup. So these guys have beaten the All Blacks plenty of times. So to keep myself calm, apart from taking to the Dima drink or Dan Levy's new drink, and this is not a paid promotion by me, Dan Levy's new whiskey, apart from taking to that.
But if he wants to send a couple extra bottles your way,
you are listening, Dan. Yeah, we'll gladly take sponsorship for Ogden whiskey
for the cost.
It's with a cost. But apart from taking to Dan's whiskey, I think I'll just be reinforcing myself of that fact that these players, whatever about us fans, have no fear of New Zealand, and I've beaten them plenty of times, as I said, from underage, under 20s, and as I said, 5 out of the last 8 times, and that's what will be trying to keep me sane. I'm not saying that sanity will be there come kickoff, because I think it's going to be one of those matches that until we're 2 scores up with 30 seconds to play and the ball is at the back of our own ruck and we go, right, I think we have it. That's only when the relief will come. So can't wait. Look, what I'd say is you love sport for these occasions. Like, you're in it to win it, or if not, go home. So you need to go through that roller coaster as emotions of a fan just to just to experience, sport live in its most purest form. And that's what this week and this and next Saturday will be. It's just going to be a cracking occasion, and it's difficult to embrace it at the time, but I'll be embracing it as best I can to get through the 80 plus minutes against New Zealand, and
Absolutely.
hopefully we can see it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's you talk about like the kind of stuff we're going to see online, and that gets me thinking. Well, maybe the best way to get through the week is to not go online at all. But we know, I mean, we all know we can't do that. We it. I mean, that is generally what gets us through the week, even if we are nervous, whatever. So I suppose one of the things we can do is, if we do have to go online, maybe take our take our cues from the actual team itself and look at the interviews with all the players and the confidence that they have in their own ability. Andy Farrell's interviews have always been really, you can see how the motivation he gets through the players and the calmness he kind of brings to the squad and stuff. And maybe that would be the way to go, instead of scrolling on the other stuff like the New Zealand attitudes and the people nitpicking and finding faults. And maybe sometimes the media kind of generates something that isn't really there, and that can happen as well. And I don't know, it's a tough one. How are you doing it, Kieran?
Uh, yeah, I I suppose I feel lucky in the sense that when I was growing up, I'm one of the younger members of the Harpin On Rugby team, which is a bit worrying because I'm nearly 30. But
Worrying
so I
for
won't ask how
you.
old anyone else is. Yeah. I know life's nearly. It's my birthday tomorrow. I turn 29 on Monday, so
Oh,
it's the last. It's this would be a nice birthday present. But
well, I'll say happy birthday to you
I
now, because when this goes out, it will be your birthday. So happy
It'll be
birthday, Kieran.
Monday. It is so. It is my birthday as far as everyone knows. But my last Harping On a Rugby appearance of my 28th year. But I think it's kind of like I remember my first World Cup as a fan who really kind of knew what was going on would have been 2007. That was my first uh, time. I didn't have a great knowledge. I didn't really grow up in a rugby family or anything. Went to a rugby school but hated it. So like I wasn't really in a rugby loop. I kind of went into it blind. In true Glory Hunter fashion, my first ever Leinster game was a European Cup game in the 2008-9 season. I kind of I was probably a bit of a late comer, and probably only really in the few years before I started riding for Harping On is when I kind of started really getting into rugby and really knowing what was going on, and obviously coincided with a lot of success for Ireland and Leinster. But at the same time, like I remember times, I'd be watching Six Nations. Six Nations was always on. Six Nations. It's the kind of it's like the Gaelic football and the hurling and All Ireland final. It's the kind of thing people watch even if they don't really have any interest in rugby. And it's a funny thing because in the past playing New Zealand, I remember getting up early. I think it might have been 2012. We had a three-test tour down in New Zealand. Should have drawn one of those games. I remember New Zealand got the controversially
Mm.
retake a penalty or something. We should have drawn one of those games. And that, like, nearly drawing against New Zealand was like this heroic victory. And then the next week, I think we lost, I think it was 64-0 or something like that. Now, ever since 2013 was a close one, 2013, 2014, when the nearly victory was, ever since 2016, it's been like, right, we can beat this New Zealand team. I hope, I hope regardless that the kind of fan culture of this World Cup, I hope it leads to you know more kind of fans of rugby. I think rugby's always been a bit of a problem because it's always been seen as a bit of an elite sport. I know that being a Leinster rugby supporter from Bray. I know I think I'm the only one with a Bray accent in the RDS when I go to games. But I hope it captures people's imagination. I hope it means next time Ireland playing in the Six Nations, next time Leinster, Munster, Ulster, Connacht are playing in the URC. I hope it gets more fans in the door. Hope as well it translates to something for the women's game, because we should remember, as well as Ireland they're doing in the men's game, the women's team hasn't gotten any support. And it wasn't too long ago they were winning a Grand Slam. It wasn't too long ago they were better than the men's team, and that should be said as well. We shouldn't forget about that. But yeah, this week is just going to be it's going to be hard to think about anything else until the match is over. I feel like I'm not going to get anything productive done this week until when's the game, 8 o'clock? So maybe around 10:30 if it doesn't go to extra time.
Yeah, I think that pretty much puts us all in the same boat. All right. Okay, well, that's it for our bonus clip this week. Many thanks for tuning in. And as ever, be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe wherever you can, and follow us on all of our social media channels.